And I'll never forget it because I came home from school. My mom was sitting in a chair and she had her head buried in her hands and she was crying. And I walked in and said, Mom, what's wrong? And she lifted her head and tears were streaming down her face and she said, Mark, Daddy's leaving. I mean, I was just a little kid. I really didn't understand. I ran into my mother and father's bedroom and there was my father. He had his back to the door and he's putting clothes in a suitcase. And I stood in the doorway. I said, Daddy, where are you going? And my dad was startled. He turned around and he goes, Mark, I want you to know I love you so much. I said, but where are you going? And my father just came right out and told me. He said, Mark, your mom and dad are no longer going to be together. Your daddy's got to go. You know, as a little kid, like you blame it on yourself, like, Dad, I'll clean my room better. I fell to my knees and I started crying. And I reached over and I grabbed the handles of my dad's suitcase and I started begging my father not to leave. I said, Daddy, please don't go. You're my best friend. My dad saw me crying and he leaned over and he said something I never forgot. He said, Mark, don't cry. Everything's gonna be okay. And then he pulled that suitcase out of my hand and he walked out that door and I was screaming, Daddy, please don't go. You're my best friend. And he was gone. 2 weeks before my first professional boxing match, I had my nose shattered in an accident. I needed reconstructive surgery and the doctor said to be almost a year before I could come back and have full contact again. My mom was with me when they were about to wheel me in for my surgery and my mom would always grab my hand and pray with me and she said, Mark, don't worry. You're gonna come back in 1 year. You're gonna be champ of the world. You see, the greatest gift my mother ever gave me, other than introducing me to Jesus, she believed in me. She empowered me to believe in myself. My mom would be at all my sporting events, and let's say if I was on the field playing football, my mom would run along with the action. She's like, Mark, get him, get him. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me? But as I look back on my life, that's what empowered me to become so successful in sports, was hearing that voice. I mean, I could never imagine not hearing that voice. I started hanging out with kids I'd never hung out with before. And every time I go to parties, someone always go, hey, Mark, why don't you have a beer, man? I go, no, I don't drink. One beer is gonna kill you? I remember finally giving in. 4, 5, 6 beers later, I'm drunk at this party. I'm walking around the party going, hey guys, I'm coming back in 1 year. I'm gonna be champ of the world. And I would do this week after week after week. And I'm walking around going, hey guys, I'm coming back in 1 year. I'm gonna be champ of the world. 1 year turned into 2 years. 2 years turned into 4 years. 4 years turned into 10 years in my life of alcohol and drug abuse. And the only job, we become who we surround ourselves with. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians 15:33, it says, don't be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. They're like elevators. They're either gonna take you up or they're gonna take you down. You show me your friends, I will show you your future. How do I know this? Because I hung out with losers and I became the biggest loser of them all because I gave up everything that I dreamt about as a little boy. My friends would drive me home at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. We'd pull up in front of my house in New York. They go, Mark, the light's on. I go, oh man, my mother's up. See, my mom wouldn't go to bed until she knew her son was still alive. She used to sit in this old chair in the living room, and I had to walk by that chair to get to my bedroom. It's the only way I could get to my room. I hated those walks. I'd walk in, she'd say, hi, Mark, how was your night? I go, it's good, Mom. I'm just going to go to bed. She goes, can I talk to you for a minute? I go, Mom, I'm tired. I'm just going to go to bed. She said, Mark, I haven't seen you all day. Can I please talk to you? I go, man, just leave me alone. You bug me. And I'd slam my bedroom door on the one person who believed in me. I can't tell you how many times I watched my little sister Andrea. Her eyes would well up in tears. She was so sensitive, but she didn't want to blink because she didn't want me to see her cry. That's how I treated my family. Now, I want you to listen to this because it's about the action you take towards your dream and goal. Now, at 30 years old, I knew I had to take action towards a new dream, a new goal, to be a professional wrestler. I didn't know how to wrestle, so I had to find out where there was a wrestling school. There was one 65 miles away from where I used to live. I'd drive there after work and on weekends. 1 year later, at 31 years old, I signed a huge contract with World Championship Wrestling. And not only that, I wrote about it 21 years before it ever happened. I was voted Pro Wrestling Illustrated Rookie of the Year. Dreams do come true. You have to believe. You guys remember my little sister Andrea? I'm sitting next to Mark. I call it. She graduated from Syracuse University. She had a degree in electrical engineering. She applied for her first job at a company called General Electric in New York, and she would just sit by the phone. She wanted this job so bad. I remember coming home and she goes, Mark, I got the job. I picked her up and hugged her. I was so proud of her. She had to get a routine physical for her new health insurance at General Electric. It was at that physical they found my sister Andrea. She had cancer. She went through radiation and chemotherapy. I mean, she lost all her hair, but she never lost her will to live. She never complained. She fought so bravely for 8 months. And I was there that fateful day at the hospital when she died. What I would do to sit next to her today, what I would do. And after my wrestling match, I was upstairs in my hotel room and I fell asleep. There was a knock at my door at 3 a.m. It was a Japanese promoter. He said, Mark, you need to call home. There's been an emergency. I immediately got on my hotel room phone. I called back to the United States. I said, hey, what's going on? He said, Mark, I don't know how to tell you this. I go, just tell me what happened. I said, Mark, I can't tell you. I go, just tell me. I said, Mark, I don't know how to. I go, just say it. He said, Mark, your mother died. I just threw the phone down. I remember running out of my hotel room. I took the elevator to the lobby, and when the doors opened up in the elevator, I just ran out into the street. I mean, there was no cars, there was no people. It's 3 a.m, and I walked down the middle of that street in Hiroshima, Japan. I remember just looking up. I said, Mom, I am so sorry. I flew home for her funeral. I remember I was so nervous to walk up to her casket. I finally got the nerve to walk up to her. And as I got closer, I could see her for the first time. And I stood over, and she was so beautiful. She was dressed in white. She looked like an angel. I said, Mom, you are my hero. Everything I am, everything I hope to be was because of you. You love me so much. You gave me a life. You worked 2 jobs. You're the only one that ever believed in me. How did I repay her? By getting drunk, by getting high, by getting stupid, by hanging out with losers. For what? All she ever wanted to do was talk to me. You guys remember my little brother Guy? When I grow up, I'm gonna be like my big brother Mark. Hey Mark, can you pitch me some? No, not today, man, I don't got time. You wanna play catch? Not today. Can I hang out with you? Get out of here. My brother grew up okay. He grew up so much better than me. I'll never forget them 2 coming over. They said, Mark, we're having a baby. I said, I'm gonna be an uncle. I said, Uncle Mark. We were so, and he was sitting in the waiting room of the doctor's office, and the nurse came in and she called his name, and he stood up, and he said, Nurse, I'm just getting really dizzy. And she goes, okay, just sit back down. And before she could grab him, he passed out and just fell over backwards. He hit his head on the floor in the doctor's office. I was on the road wrestling, and they called me and they said, Mark, your brother Guy had a falling accident at the doctor's office. He's at the Sarasota hospital. Now, my first reaction was like, how bad can you get hurt at a doctor's office? Would he break his arm? I said, Mark, you need to get there. So I dropped everything, and I drove to the hospital as fast as I could. I walked over to my brother's hospital bed, and I got on my knees. I reached through the rail, and I grabbed my little brother's hand. I just looked up. I said, hey, God, I don't ask you for much, but I need a miracle. Please. He's only 21. He's going to be a daddy. But there was a miracle. We donated his heart and his organs. It saved the lives of 5 people that were on a transplant list. It just wasn't our miracle. We are defined by our choices. You guys remember the best friend I have ever had has always been my father. My father was in a hospital in New York. I was living in Florida. They called me at 6 a.m. They said, Mark, your dad needs to see you right away. So we drove to the hospital as fast as we could, and I took the elevator up to the floor they was on. I ran down the hall. When I got to my dad's room, I could see my father wasn't doing good. He was all by himself. And I lost it. I just started crying. My tears were just flowing, and my tears kept hitting my father in his face, where it looked like my dad was crying. You see, I never saw my father cry. He's like one of those old school tough guys. He just never cried. But for the first time, it looked like my daddy was crying, even though they were my tears. And then I remembered what he told me when I was 8 years old when he left. I said, Daddy, don't cry. Everything's gonna be okay. Please don't go. You're my best friend. He died in my arms. You see, I lost it all. I lost my friends. I lost my family. Most all of them died from bad choices. You students today, you got your whole lives ahead of you. Oh my gosh, the amazing things that you kids are gonna do in the future. Families and love and Christmas and birthdays and holidays and all the things you're gonna have. Life is not about winning the race. Life is about finishing the race. In my nightstand next to my bed, I keep my handgun. I walked into my shower. I spread my legs and put my back against the wall, the glass door. I put the gun up to my head, and I just wanted to slide down the wall. When my butt hit the ground, I would pull the trigger. And as I stood there, all of a sudden my life flashes before me. My mother, my father, my brother, my sister, all the loved ones. I want to be with them. I hate my life. I'm exactly what everybody told me I was. I'm a loser. I hate myself. I can't take the pain no more. See, my whole life was about changing everybody else around me. Every situation I had to be in control of. You should love me more. Why isn't dinner ready? Why isn't this house clean? But you see, when you realize it's you that has to change, everything else changes around you.